What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Atlantic Files. This week, we are talking about if the Golden State Warriors are cooked, if the Minnesota Timberwolves are for real contenders, if Tyrese Haliburton is a legit MVP contender, and we give our thoughts and reactions on the in-season tournament quarterfinals. So without further ado, let's get into episode 296.
Welcome to the Atlantic Files, where humor and vibes collide. Nets and Sixers, the king of the court, jokes that hit you one more. Atlantic Division, we on the scene. Comedy, food talk, every routine. Mike Bash, Clausen, Fischbein on the mic, making you laugh every episode right. Game is strong, court to kitchen, we're never wrong. You know what time it is, it's time for the Atlantic Files.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. As always, joined by your host, myself, Alex Fischbein, and I got Dennis Big Sexy Clausen, who's not wearing pants.
No, maybe.
The world may never know.
No, but that. Remember, everybody was doing that when they were doing the COVID.
Oh,
yeah. And there were commercials about with people like not wearing pants.
Yep. And then it was always like they had to get up to like get their water or something, and then they forgot.
Right. Yeah. And it's like the first time somebody did that a couple of years ago, it was funny, but then everybody kept doing the same commercial.
Yep. You know what really kills me though every time? Like we've been using like Zoom and Teams meetings and whatever ever since COVID first started. How do people still not realize they're on mute?
At this point, nothing surprises me though, because a lot of people in the world are really fucking dumb.
True.
So you would think that would be like a common sense thing, but it's really just there's no hope for the human race.
Yeah, I don't get it because it's like, especially when everyone has their cameras on and somebody's talking and you just see everyone just kind of staring at you weird. It would be the same exact thing as if like you were in a room and you had something like on your face and everyone was staring at you.
Like a booger.
Right. Like you can see everyone's facial expressions being like, something's off here.
I like the guy. Did you see? And this was a couple of years ago. The guy from CNN got caught beating off on Zoom.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
He thought he turned the camera off, and he did it. Next thing you know, he's fucking jerking off on Zoom, and he got fired. But I guess he's been back ever since.
I guess so. You know, people just forget about things like that.
But like, I get it. Like, if he's in a meeting room. Like, if he's Zooming and there's a bunch of hot chicks in there, I mean, let's be honest. How many times as a guy have you said, when you looked at a chick and you said, God, she's so sexy, and then you end up carrying that with you throughout the day until you get to a certain spot to where you can jerk off, basically. So, I mean, I totally understand this guy having the need if there's hot chicks around and stuff. Just make sure your fucking camera's off. And do you have to be sitting right there in front of your computer?
That too.
Like,
but also, shouldn't you know if you're still on a meeting?
Well, that goes back to the mute thing. Like,
exactly.
If you don't know, if there's people who don't know they're on mute, there's certainly going to be people out there who don't know that they're not on, still on the Zoom, like video.
There's a guy that I work with who's not. He's not on.
He got caught on Zoom jerking off.
No.
Oh, okay.
He's never on. Like his camera's never on, but he never realizes he's still in the meeting. So like we all leave the meeting, but on the side in the chat, you can see if like a meeting is still going on. So it'll be like 4 hours later, and I'll look at the chat list, and it'll be like, oh, meeting is still happening, and I'm like, the guy still hasn't left. Like, dude, the meeting was at 9 a.m. It's currently 1 p.m.
Don't you like these people, though, who they come into the meeting and they never have a picture or a... It's like, what are you hiding from?
Mm-hmm. They never turn their video on, and they don't have a picture. So it's just like,
and they're on mute 90% of the time.
Yep.
So what is really going on?
I will say, since we work with people internationally and they come to our main office here in Pennsylvania every so often, throughout COVID, my picture is actually like Joel Embiid smiling on a basketball court. And so when some of our coworkers came and they finally met me, they were like, all I thought of was just Joel Embiid in our meetings this whole time.
Be like, that's funny because that's all I think about.
True.
Now, upper management's okay with like, they didn't want like a company stock photo or anything. You know what I mean?
I mean, the higher ups are never really on the meeting, and as long as, like, if you are on a meeting with higher ups, almost everyone's camera is always on. So then your picture doesn't even show because your camera's on.
I love the phrases in work culture. The higher ups, the bosses, you know, stupid shit like that.
Exactly. Like I'm trying to find the one picture that I had because I just got it off of like Google Images. It actually has like Ben Simmons in the background because that's how long ago I put the picture up, and I just haven't taken it down since. But yeah, I think that's pretty much what I'm known for now, is like every time somebody sees me on a meeting and the Sixers played the night before or something, they almost always are like, so the Sixers won last night. I'm like, yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do they know you for, jerking off on Zoom?
While a picture of Joel Embiid is on the screen.
I hate when people make small talk like that, though.
Oh,
Nothing
yeah.
I hate more. Nothing I hate more.
And it's just like, it always starts with the weather. The weather is the number one topic.
Warm out there, huh? It's like, get the fuck away from me. I would love for somebody to come up and go, hey, did you see that new Mandingo video? He was really crushing those 3 chicks with fat asses. You know, then I could get behind that. Then I'd be like, oh, yeah? Yeah, what was a schoolgirl? Like, but then other people are like, no, it's the weather. And I hate when people just come up and they just start complaining.
Yep.
And you're like, leave me alone.
I agree.
You're like, oh, how are you? Been better.
And you get back from a holiday. It's like, what'd you do for Thanksgiving? I was like, had people over.
Yeah, same thing pretty much everybody else does. Eat.
Like, it's really not like all that exciting. I love it. This is my picture.
Is that still your picture?
Yes.
And it's got Joel in the background like that?
Ben Simmons, yeah.
Or, yeah, Ben Simmons, excuse me.
Yep. Except it's like, since it's just like the circle is like the profile picture is literally just like a close-up of like Embiid's face with like a little bit of Ben Simmons in the background.
I mean, I think that might be the last picture in existence to where those two are actually happy together.
I think it is. I mean, the headline on this is Outshine Lakers in Battle of Rebuilding Franchises.
I mean, it's still not even, that title's still not even that far off. Excuse me, I'm having second guesses too on a DraftKings lineup, so I'm kind of, you know.
Oh no, I got you. It's that main picture on the article was Jordan Clarkson still on the Lakers.
Boy, they still wish he was back on the Lakers.
That's for sure.
They could certainly use him, I'll tell you that.
Speaking of the Lakers, they play tonight in the in-season tournament quarterfinals.
Is that really, do they really abbreviate it like that?
So I've just been seeing people on social media abbreviate it like that.
Oh my God.
But I've also seen people just say we should just call it the NBA Cup, which I'm not opposed to. That makes it a lot easier than having to say in-season tournament every time.
I don't know. I think NBA Cup sounds kind of like trendy.
True.
Into like Euro hoops.
That's a good point.
And I think in-season tournament sounds like you couldn't think of another name.
In-season tournament just sounds way too like spot on that it's just like, all right, guys.
It's too
like,
perfect.
Yeah. It's like you came up with this idea. It's all good and everything, but the name, you couldn't come up with anything catchier. And like, why do we have to have a hyphenated name? Like, fuck the hyphen. Get a name that's easier to say.
You know what I hate too that they were doing. And speaking of that, but I'm gonna just touch on IST real quick before I just bitch about something else. But IST is worse because it's just the name of it's the abbreviation of a stupid name.
Oh, I agree.
So it makes it like obnoxious kind of.
But the thing that I hate about it is it's really close to the acronym for my department at work. So
it confuses you.
When I see IST, it just reminds me of work, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, oh wait, that's the NBA.
But I've never seen IST though, and the reason being because I'm not very like Twitter guy or X or whatever that's. So because that's the stuff that would bother me right there, just how they call it IST. I know it sounds like such a small thing to be annoyed about, and that might be a deeper issue for me, other than just 3 letters. But I'm annoyed, so I can't help it. Another thing that I hate is they used to call it the NBA Finals,
right?
And now they're doing the final, the NBA Final.
Yep.
Which drives me fucking up the wall. Because I'm like, what's wrong with the finals?
And it's best of 7. So it's not just one game. If it was one game, I could see you calling it the final. Like the NFL is the Super Bowl because it's one game. If it was a best of 5, it'd be the Super Bowls.
Yeah, but I think they're calling it final based on all of the games collectively or in one series.
Right.
My point is though, it's like I don't care what it is, and not to interrupt you, but
you're fine.
I don't care what it is. It's just the fact that they had to change it, and I just question the reasons why they change it, because everybody's like, we need to be correct with our punctuation, even though half the world doesn't know how to fucking spell a goddamn thing anyways. So just let it go. Who cares?
People don't know how to use a comma, let alone.
No. Oh my God, you kidding me?
let alone anything else.
Comma. People don't even know how to wash their hands when they get out of the bathroom.
That's a good point too. Just today, I you know how some people go into the bathroom, and
I'm gonna say yes because I've definitely experienced it,
and they fake wash their hands, but like some people do it where they run the water and they just like wash their hands together with just water and no soap. But some people run the water and just don't put their hands under it at all. And it's like
we're on to you.
Right. Like the urinal isn't that far away from the sink. I can tell you're not putting your hands under the water, even just to get the water on your hands, let alone put soap and water on them. Like, especially at a setting like work, wash your fucking hands.
Right. But you also got to think, like, you ever hear how they're like, well, when you're washing your hands, you got to sing happy birthday and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
There ain't none of that going on.
No.
And yeah, it's disgusting. And I don't know exactly what some people are eating.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the best eater by any means. And I'm sure that my bowel movements don't smell the best, but you go into these bathrooms and the smells. I'm like, this guy's got to see a gastroenterologist immediately because he's got a tumor growing somewhere.
I mean,
because it is just fucking horrible.
That I can't really comment on because I am the guy that smells terrible.
I'm talking like next level though.
Oh, I trust me. I know.
And then you get these guys who, like, I know when I'm wiping, right? So I have a bidet at home. If I have to go at work, I have a pack of dude wipes that I bring.
Okay.
But then you get these guys who you hear like one thing of the toilet paper go out. You know the noise it makes, like you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
They pull it once, they wipe once, and then they flush, and I go, how does that happen?
I will say the best feeling is a one wiper.
I know, but I have a feeling that that's not like because they sit down, they go. And it's not like because I gotta sit there, and I'm sure a lot of guys would agree with me. But there are these other guys who just go, they sit, they back up. You hear toilet paper go off, and then they're out.
Yeah,
how is this possible?
I do think that there are people out there, as nasty as they are, not washing their hands, just as nasty, not wiping their ass fully clean.
Oh, I could guarantee you though that the level of ass wiping is probably not on a sufficient level, to be honest with you.
No, not at all. And then that's when your ass starts to itch and everything because you didn't wipe well enough. People are nuts.
I mean, you learn that when, like, you remember when you were like, I don't know, if you're a kid, you walk around, you're scratching your ass, and your mom's like, what do you do? Somebody didn't wipe good. That's the shit you learn when you're like 4.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what it reminds me of is the IST quarterfinals is shit, because that's what it is shit. You want my reaction? It's garbage.
IST reminds you of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome.
IBS and IST are the same fucking thing. No, but I was telling you last night, like, it didn't dawn on me that I hated it until last night.
So what about last night made you hate it?
Well, I hate reduced schedules.
Okay.
The NBA is getting way too reduced with schedules. I am very regimented with my home life, which includes not much. I wait all fucking summer for basketball.
Right.
I wait most of the fall for basketball. And spring, I mean, you gotta wait. So the NBA season's over about April, right? That's my favorite time. Like the playoffs are okay, but I start to get sad around playoff time.
Right.
By the time June, you're gonna get a game every 2-3 days. July, you get a little pump in the arm because you get summer league back. August is dreadful. September is dreadful. Then October, you start to get hopeful. I wait a long time. I don't stop putting 2 games on a day. There's no reason why you need to have 2 games scheduled on a day. You want to have the in-season tournament? That's fine. Let the other teams play too. Who cares?
So I do agree. I think the scheduling is terrible, and
they closed on election day. They didn't do the games.
True. Their thought of that was like, if you want to give them credit, the thought of that was there in terms of like making people get out and vote, and they turned
That's the stupidest thing ever.
They turned NBA arenas into voting stations.
Dumb.
Which if you're making the arena a polling place, then okay, whatever. But I do think like just not having games that day doesn't exactly make people like, most of the people who have a job vote before they go to work. So like by the time they get home, they're like, all right, well, I want to watch basketball. So, but anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. I proposed something on Twitter and social media and threads and everything. I think that this in-season tournament, first off, should go a little bit longer into the season, and you should have all of the quarterfinal games on Christmas Day.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
But look, they're most likely going to be good games, and on top of it, you're going to have higher energy games. Like that Pacers Celtics game was super fun to watch last night. The energy was amazing. It was a close game. The Pacers players were going crazy. The crowd was going crazy. Great game to watch. So if you have a technically playoff game, and you stick all 4 of those games on Christmas Day, which NBA Christmas Day is already a big day, and then you make those games have higher stakes because they're technically playoff games, I think that's a better idea.
They are not playoff games. The in-season tournament is not the playoffs.
No, I'm not saying it's the actual playoffs, but it is higher stakes than a normal regular season game.
No, it does not mean anything. It does not mean anything. What does it mean?
You could see to the Pacers it meant a lot.
Because when you're the Pacers, of course it does.
But that's what I mean. If it means a lot to the players and to the coaches and then the fans in the stadium, the game is more fun to watch.
If you're that easily swayed into thinking that game was important, you're dumb. I've never seen you as a dumb guy. So don't like the fact that these people were all hyped up for a regular season game, because that's all it is a glorified regular season game.
I mean,
you could put a sweater on a piece of shit. It's still going to be a piece of shit. It's just going to have a sweater. Same thing. It's not going to be any different.
The thing to me is, yes, it's still regular season. Yes, in the grand scheme of winning an NBA Finals, it really isn't that important. Especially the championship of the in-season tournament doesn't count towards your regular season record. So that right there does not mean much when it comes to the NBA Finals. However, it is a little bit higher energy, a little bit higher stakes than just a regular season, regular old game in December.
The only thing is at stake is monetarily for the players.
Oh yeah, and everyone loves money.
It has nothing to do. The standings are impacted the same way that they would be during a regular season game.
I agree.
All they did was the courts are god awful, and I think that's that's what I think started it for me, because I was like, these courts are garbage, but I'll still I'll get used to it. Now on top of that, we got people like making a big deal about it, like these things are important, and I was like, wait a second, I'm not falling for this, because that's exactly what they want you to think it's important. They want you to think it's important, but look, of course the Pacers are going to want it, because the Pacers aren't even going to go anywhere near the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to reach the conference finals or anything like that. But like,
it did create a buzz though, because look what happened when you wake up. Everybody woke up this morning. All everybody was talking about was Tyrese Haliburton.
That's true, and we're going to talk about him in a second here. But my closing thoughts on the in-season tournament, I just think that incentivizing the players made the players play a little bit harder than a normal regular season game in December, which therefore makes the game a little bit more entertaining from a spectator standpoint.
There was nothing wrong with what was it. And you want to know something? Christmas Day, you earned the right to play on Christmas Day. You either build a good roster or you're one of the best teams at the end of last season. That's the best teams and the teams with the most stars are the teams that should be showcased. So don't give me any of this in-season garbage. I am fine with different uniforms on Christmas. I'm fine with 5 games throughout the day. I'm fine with watching the Nuggets at 10:30 at night. I want it left alone. And the minute people start saying stupid shit like you just said, all of a sudden it's going to get out of control. So stop.
Don't get me wrong. I hate the scheduling. I don't like having 2 games in one day and then 16 the next day.
Bro, we got 2 games Monday, 2 games Tuesday, 2 games Thursday, one
And then
fucking
one
game
on Saturday.
Saturday, and then none Sunday.
I know. I hate that. That whole scheduling I don't like.
But you
I don't
like
like
the
that at all.
in-season tournament. It means something.
The actual game itself I like, but the scheduling is terrible.
What's wrong with a 2 o'clock game on Sunday? Leave it alone.
I'm fine with that.
And then in a couple months, you know what else is coming up? It's a stupid All-Star break. So
that we can get rid of. I don't care about the All-Star break.
Well, they apparently they want to make, it's a big deal. They want to make people think that the All-Star game's important.
Do people still watch the Pro Bowl?
No.
I barely even remember. I feel like the Pro Bowl comes and goes, and I'm like, that's still a thing?
Well, they don't even play an actual game anymore.
Yeah, isn't it like flag football or something now?
It's the Pro Bowl games. So
they don't even do a flag football game.
I think they might do flag football, but basically these players are going because they want to go to Hawaii.
True.
Or Florida or wherever the hell they're having it. But the NBA All-Star Games means nothing. As much as they try to want to make it mean something, it means nothing. The MLB All-Star Game means nothing, even though they tried to make, World Series. They tried to, whoever won would get home field advantage for the World Series. That means nothing. The NHL All-Star Game means any All-Star game out there means nothing.
I would say the only one of the All-Star games that I feel like carried any weight was the MLB one when they did the home field advantage thing. And but it's baseball. So like it wasn't very entertaining.
Right.
Oh.
They could have strippers on the field in baseball, and I'm still not really going to be that entertained.
They need to allow steroids in baseball.
I want steroids, chewing tobacco, hookers, like anything you can make to spice this thing up, I'm all for it.
Take everything from Grand Theft Auto and put it in the MLB.
Correct. Carjacking.
Anyway, like I said, we were about to get into Tyrese Haliburton, so let's
bottom line, the in-season tournament means nothing, and the fact that the in-season tournament made me wake up and talk about how Tyrese Haliburton's the second coming of Christ is absolutely nauseating, because I cannot stand it today. It is so obnoxious, it's not even funny.
Speaking of which, I literally just saw this when we were
oh Christ,
logging on here. So
Christ.
In the Pacers, for those not watching on YouTube, in the Pacers 5 in-season tournament games, Tyrese Haliburton is averaging 28 points, 13.4 assists, 5.2 rebounds a game while shooting 50.5% from the floor and 46.4% from three.
Good for him.
I mean, there was a couple things I was surprised about. I texted you and Mike this, but apparently last night for the in-season tournament was Haliburton's second ever nationally televised game in his NBA career. Also, I didn't realize he's never had a triple-double until last night. I really thought he's had triple-doubles before. But
well, he was out of the Kings when the Kings sucked.
True.
And honestly, like, is Tyrese Haliburton a good player? Yeah. There have been plenty of good players, though, who have been really, really, really good players. Like, he's an all-star caliber player.
Mm-hmm.
But there are guys who have been really, really good and haven't done anything for their team in terms of helping their team get better. We're talking like Gilbert Arenas. We're talking like John Wall.
True.
Tracy McGrady. Look at all these guys over the years. Charles Barkley. Like all these guys who've been just like, and these are guys I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony is the epitome of a guy who's like really good player, but he has no value to his team. Am I saying that Tyrese Haliburton has no value to his team? No, but am I saying that he's a difference maker in making the Pacers a playoff, like a championship caliber team? Hell no. The Pacers aren't even anywhere near a championship caliber team. And people are going to bitch at me for saying this, but Tyrese Haliburton doesn't exactly have the best history of staying healthy either.
True.
He was hurt last year. He was hurt as a rookie. He's flirted with the injury. He's missed time this year already. He's been a constant presence on the injury report already. All right, so are his numbers good? He's a double-double guy. He's averaging a double-double. His numbers are fantastic. But I also know the Pacers are in 6th place. And he's playing on a team that doesn't really seem like they're going to go anywhere. So as much as people want to buy into the fact that they are, they beat the Celtics in an in-season tournament. So basically they beat the Celtics in a regular season game. I'm not buying it. Did Tyrese Haliburton have a fantastic night? Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Not taking that away. But let's pump the brakes here. Until I start seeing Tyrese Haliburton make the Pacers the number 1 seed in the East or the number 2 seed in the East and then take them to the Eastern Conference Finals at least, I don't want to hear anything about it.
I don't even have Haliburton in my top 4 of an MVP consideration right now. I have Jokic, Embiid. I have I would probably put Luka up there because the Mavericks are improving from last season. I would put Gilgeous-Alexander up there. And honestly, Anthony Edwards would probably be up there before I put Tyrese Haliburton. Because we're going to talk about the Timberwolves after this, but
you're not going to put Kevin Durant in there?
No, not right now.
Okay, well, that's crazy.
Well, the only thing is the Suns.
You're not making it. Are you okay today?
The Suns are the 4 seed, okay? They're decent. They've been playing well, and Booker and Beal have both really been hurt. But Anthony Edwards, to me, is doing far and above the best in terms of offense and defense. Jokic is Jokic. Embiid, we've seen what happened in the 2 to 3 games that he didn't play for the Sixers. And I would put Kevin Durant is probably tied at 5th if I had to put him up there.
Oh, now he's tied at 5th.
Now that I'm thinking,
you're going to let me peer pressure you into
I would still put Gilgeous-Alexander above him. I'd still put the other
Stop
guys I
it.
mentioned above.
Stop it. Stop.
I would.
Don't do that. I think you got sick from the leftovers. See what happens when you eat 5-day-old leftovers? You think you might have a parasite in your brain eating your brain because you're not making sense.
I love Kevin Durant, but I don't have him in my top 5.
How? Now, if he wins in season tournament game, are you going to, like everybody else, going to be ranting and raving about him?
No, because I don't even have Haliburton in my top 5.
And I hate Durant. I absolutely can't stand Durant.
True.
He might be playing the best basketball of his career right now.
Oh, I agree that he's having a great year.
And he's doing it. He's doing it without Devin Booker around. And who the hell? Well, don't get me started on Bradley Beal, but Bradley Beal hasn't been around either. So the fact that and the Suns have been playing relatively well, and the fact that it's basically been for a long time, it was Kevin Durant, Nurkic, who Nurkic is okay, but he's not an offensive guy. And then he's playing with Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon. So all the guys they scraped together, Josh Okogie, Bates Diop, Utah Watanabe. You got all these guys that they scraped off the bottom of the barrel because they had no money after bringing Bradley Beal over for God knows why. And the fact that Kevin Durant has kept the Suns competitive and averaging nearly as a career high and shooting over 40% I think he's less 45%, 50%, something like that, Kevin Durant.
He's almost shooting 50% from 3, which is crazy.
So the only guy who should be Luke, I'm sorry, like you're good, but Luke is no. I mean, shit. I might. Yeah, I'm saying Jokic, and Jokic are 1 through 4, and then Durant is number 5.
I don't know. I definitely still have an Embiid above Durant.
Why?
And because Embiid is still leading the league in points per game, as well as averaging his career high in assists at almost 7 a game, with 11 or 12 rebounds a game.
Yeah, but all I know is, I don't know if you've noticed it, but your man's he's been popping up on that injury report an awful lot.
Yeah, he's missed the last few games. I mean, some sort of illness went around the whole team too, and they're all
the whole
sick
league.
now.
Everybody had this mystery illness that was going around.
I don't know what's happening with that.
But what about this hip pointer thing he's got going on?
Yeah,
this hip soreness.
I'm not surprised. I mean, again, the last few years, the most he's played was like 68 games. So, like, I'm not surprised at him missing games at all anymore. But yeah, I mean, I the one I could give you is Kevin Durant over Luka, but I still think the other 4 guys in my head, I still have up there, especially with how good their teams have been playing. And like, again, Durant having an incredible season so far. Like, I'm not taking that away from him at all. But I will say, just in terms of this topic, while Haliburton has played extremely well also this season and leads the league in assists and so on and so forth, my thing that I have always like knocked on Jokic when he won his first MVP and even his second MVP, I've used this against multiple other guys when they're in the MVP race, is defense. Haliburton has 0 defense. Like, he is a turnstile on defense. And not just that, but you were talking about the Pacers not being close to a championship contending team. They currently average the most points per game, which, yes, no one is denying how good on offense this team is, especially Tyrese Haliburton. They average 128 points scored per game. They're also dead last in opponent points per game because they're giving up 125 points per contest. This whole team's defense is god-awful. And Miles Turner, once known as a very good rim protector and shot blocker, hasn't even been that great this year. Because when you have a perimeter defense with Haliburton and Hield and Benedict Mathurin and Aaron Nesmith and all these guys, people are getting to the rim at will. And so that's why, to me, I can't put Haliburton up there because, as you said, he's not impacting this team enough to elevate them to another level of contention. Especially because the moment you get in the playoffs, we watched this with the Sacramento Kings last year. They were first in offense and dead last in defense. And we saw them lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, but at least the Kings had they were higher in the standings than the Pacers were.
Agreed. Oh, no, I'm saying the Kings were a better team. I definitely agree with that. I'm just saying this formula of having super good offense but no defense doesn't help you in the NBA. People want to say that, like, oh, defense isn't played by anybody. But when it comes to the playoffs, defense kicks up 50 notches.
Well, I will tell you that, again, the Pacers have no direction. I mean, how long have we heard about Miles Turner getting traded?
True.
I mean, so either should or get off the pot.
And Jalen Smith hasn't stayed healthy to save his life.
I mean, but you have all these assets though that you can move. Buddy Hield, we heard his name floated around. I mean, we've heard, like I said, Miles Turner. People want him. If he's not in your long-term plans, get rid of him. People would want Jalen Smith.
People would want TJ McConnell if they could
I was
just
just
trade.
going to say, TJ McConnell will get you at least a first-round pick at this, depending upon the team.
He just came up big in that game against the Celtics with like a steal, 4 points in a row, everything. Like anyone would want a bench player like that.
And he started the other day. I think he had 20 and 10.
Yep.
So, yeah. So it's Pacers. What are we doing here? Are we either going on? What do we, like, figure it out?
And it's also like if your starting five is Haliburton, Hield, Obi Toppin, who starts a small forward? It's not Mather.
It's Hield has been playing small, but he comes off the bench.
That's right.
And Bruce Brown.
Bruce Brown.
So they
and then yes, Bruce Brown, Miles Turner, Obi Toppin, Haliburton, and then Hield or Matherin. Those are the two that like have been flip-flopping. I don't see any defense in there. Miles Turner was supposed to be the defender in there, but like Obi Toppin was never good at defense. I mean, Buddy Hield, not known as a defender. Haliburton, not a defender. So like, you got to have some, like Bruce Brown was okay, but he's a guy that is like your fourth option and a very strong one. He shouldn't be anything more than
Bruce
that.
Brown is a great player, but he shouldn't be have anything to do with your team being, he shouldn't be included in a conversation of like a big three or anything like that. Like he shouldn't be on any posters,
right? Because like the Nuggets had Jokic, Gordon, Murray, Porter Jr. Then you get to Bruce Brown.
Right.
Not Haliburton, Turner, Bruce Brown.
Right. If you need to put Bruce Brown on a poster, and this is not knocking, I love Bruce Brown.
I love Bruce Brown too.
But your team is like Bruce Brown probably doesn't even want to be on a poster, to be honest with you.
It's true.
But I will say this too. 19 points, 11.9 rebounds, and 7.1 assists for Mr. Sabonis. Where's his love for MVP?
True.
Of course, again, nobody talks about him.
Sabonis has been amazing.
Sabonis is absolute, just because he doesn't score 29 points a game. But I mean, look at the way he played in that meaningful in-season tournament loss to the Pelicans.
True. It was funny. Him and Haliburton pretty much had the identical stats in those two games.
Well,
I think it was like Haliburton had like 20, 22, 13 assists and 10 rebounds, and then Sabonis just had 13 rebounds, 10 assists.
So for anybody who had Sabonis on their fantasy teams, and for those who had Tyrese Haliburton, don't start gloating about how good Tyrese Haliburton is while completely dismissing the fact that the other person has Domantas Sabonis in their lineup.
Right. I think I know who you're talking about.
Just saying, and speaking.
This sounds very targeted at one person that usually hosts this podcast.
Usually hosts.
I mean, occasionally co-hosts the podcast.
Intermittently, bi-monthly, it makes an appearance on the podcast.
But I will say the trade for Sabonis and Haliburton, I feel like doesn't get enough love to the fact that had, other than Luka and Trae Young, it was a very win-win trade for both sides.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Both teams are completely happy with who they have.
But it's just funny though. Like, I don't want Gilgeous-Alexander getting too much credit, because it's funny how all of a sudden Chet Holmgren is healthy and playing fucking phenomenal, and all of a sudden the Thunder are number 2.
No,
which,
Chet's been great.
not to toot my own horn, but I remember saying back during Summer League how Chet looked like $1 million, and so far he's lived up to the hype.
He has, for sure. Even got Rookie of the Month, which everyone expected it to be Wemby.
And I hate that too. He's not a rookie. I'm sorry. If you miss your rookie season, that's your fault.
Yeah.
He should have ate a sandwich.
You do benefit from an entire year of being with NBA trainers and all that kind of stuff. So it is a leg up in everything. Almost every time you have a top pick that does that, they win Rookie of the Year. Ben Simmons, Blake Griffin, like it's gonna happen.
Correct.
But I've been hyping up Gilgeous-Alexander for a few years now. And I just think he, as the main driver of that team, should get MVP consideration, personally. But speaking of MVP consideration...
I'm not saying he's not in the MVP conversation. I'm just saying that, I mean, for you to not even put Kevin Durant is fucking crazy.
Like I said, I would switch out Luka, but the rest of them I would. But anyway, I put Anthony Edwards in my consideration because the Timberwolves are the number 1 seed in the West. They have the best record in the NBA at 15-4 because of the Celtics loss last night. They are 9-1 at home. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're on a 4-game win streak right now. I mean, and when I'm talking about Minnesota being good, the person that has probably hated on Minnesota the most, especially Rudy Gobert, I have to admit that they look very, very good. And Anthony Edwards has just looked otherworldly. And on both sides of the ball, too. And I just think Edwards is the fucking man.
Oh yeah, Anthony Edwards is great. And the fact that Karl Anthony Towns has stayed healthy has been good.
And Rudy Gobert hasn't been absolutely garbage.
Actually, Gobert is playing. You even got to admit how well Gobert is playing.
He is. He is playing well. I will give him that.
But I am going to bring something up, though.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to list the following teams.
Okay.
Utah, Boston, New Orleans, San Antonio, Golden State ×2, New Orleans, the Knicks, Philly, Memphis, OKC, Utah, and Charlotte. How many of those teams are good out of those teams?
Probably like 4 or 5.
Okay. So most of their wins have come against those teams. So,
true. And
when they beat the Pelicans haven't had Brandon Ingram. Or not Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum.
Right.
And when they played one of the games against the Pelicans, Zion wasn't available, and they only beat them by 1 point. I believe when they beat Golden State Warriors, I'm going to just do my research before I make myself sound dumber than I am. I believe one of those games was the game Draymond Green wasn't available.
Oh,
maybe I'm wrong. Who the hell knows? But they beat Philly, but Philly didn't have Embiid that night.
Right.
All right. So there's a lot of bad teams that they beat. If you beat New Orleans without Zion Williamson and CJ McCollum, did you really beat New Orleans? If you beat the Sixers without Joel Embiid, did you really beat the Sixers? I mean, they beat a lot of. It's an excellent point. I just made such a great point about this Wizards or this Timberwolves winning streak. Excuse me while I open a Coke Zero.
I will say despite me hyping up Anthony Edwards and everybody, I still don't think they're title contenders. I think they're very good playoff contenders. I think they'll make the second round, maybe if everything breaks right, the conference finals. But I don't see them making the finals, let alone winning the finals. And I don't think that's going to happen until they have a younger and better point guard to kind of be the floor general of this team. I like Anthony Edwards a lot, but I don't think he should be the primary ball handler all the time if you want this team to be a title contender. And I think that you could probably move like Karl Anthony Towns for a better point guard or a better wing to go alongside with Anthony Edwards and keep the rest of the defense intact. I mean, I like, don't get me wrong, I like Karl Anthony Towns, but I've never been one to think that, just like we were talking about Haliburton impacting the team going to another level, I don't think Karl Anthony Towns is that guy either. I don't think he's the guy that forces the team to move up to a championship contention level. I think that was Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is that guy to impact winning and take the team to another level, not Karl Anthony Towns. So I think you could trade him and get a better team around Edwards.
But how? They have no draft picks. They could trade if they trade Karl Anthony Towns. What are you going to get back? You'd either have to get a player at the same caliber, or you're going to have to downgrade in order to expand your depth.
That's a good point.
I'm having out of the ballpark today, bro. So yeah,
I forgot about the trading all of their picks for Rudy Gobert.
And when I mean all of their picks, yeah,
literally all of their picks.
But let's, so basically their schedule doesn't appear to be getting much harder. They're going to play the Spurs, which are god awful, on Wednesday, thank God. And then that's another thing. We got like 19 games tomorrow, and it's like I can't even watch all of them because there's so many games crammed into one night. Right. Then they got Memphis, who still doesn't have John Morant. And they don't have Luke Kennard, which is going to be a huge. I'm only kidding. The Pelicans, who the hell knows if Zion will be healthy for that. Then they got to play the Mavs, and then the Heat, the Sixers. So they have some challenges coming up. Right. You'll sell me that you're a decent team if you could beat the Pelicans at full strength, if you could beat the Mavericks with both Luka and Kyrie playing. You'll sell me if you could beat Miami even at full strength, because God knows they haven't been healthy, which is no surprise by any means. And if you could get the and then if you could beat the Sixers with Embiid, the Kings with both Sabonis and Fox, and then you could beat the Lakers with LeBron and AD, then okay. Then you'll start to sway me. But until you do that, you've beat some bad teams, so I'm not going to sound the horn yet and fall for all the bullshit.
I mean, understandable. And it is, especially because, like, we saw the Sixers at full strength go on a big win streak. And the Sixers at full strength, before Batum and everybody, they were able to beat the Celtics pretty handily. And then they faced the Celtics the other night, down a bunch of people, still almost beat them. And so, yeah, facing the Sixers completely healthy versus without Joel Embiid or without Embiid and Maxey is a completely different story. And that goes the same for the Pelicans. I mean, we've seen the Pelicans win some pretty big games so far this year with not even a full team, with CJ McCollum out and everything. So, and they just won last night over a good Sacramento Kings team. So,
We'll see what happens in the postseason because that's when everything matters.
Agreed. And speaking of the postseason and how everything matters, and you brought them up.
Not an in-season tournament. That's just a glorified regular season game.
Of course. You brought them up here because they played. These are one of the teams the Timberwolves beat. But the Golden State Warriors, they currently are 11th in the West. They're only 9-11 right now. They aren't even that good at home, which is usually their bread and butter. They're 4-6 at home. They're 5-5 on the road. Draymond has just been doing wild shit as usual. Chris Paul got hurt. Steph Curry has still been doing Steph Curry things. Klay Thompson has not looked good, especially at times. He's looked terrible. Andrew Wiggins is still MIA. Honestly, the two best parts of this team have been Steph Curry and the rookie Podziemski, or however you say his name. That's really about it.
Well, the Warriors have a lot of decisions to make coming up, and there probably won't be any discussions on anything meaningful about a new contract for Klay Thompson, but they need to decide whether he's and I think Klay Thompson is far too talented to continue playing the way he has. So I think he's going to bounce out at some point in time. The Warriors began the season, they looked really good. Mm-hmm. But of course, Chris Paul's hurt, which is not a surprise. Fortunately, they say he could be back. He may even be back tomorrow, as far as I know. Wiggins slammed his finger in the car door. He could be back. But Wiggins hasn't really been anything special, not like he was last season at times. Chris Paul, I mean, we knew at some point he was going to get hurt, which he has already. Steph Curry's going to get hurt at some point. He's going to miss a month with something. And I think Klay Thompson will start turning things around. But the thing is, we were talking about Draymond Green, getting all that money. And honestly, he's not even worth it anymore.
Right.
But if you're willing to go into the tiers and you have the ability to retain a player, you're not going to get a player that's better than him. So you're going to be forced to overspend a little bit. But the Warriors are older. They're injury prone. These guys, Steph Curry is just phenomenal. But a lot of these guys now, they're on the downswing, which is understandable. It's not their fault. They've had injuries, and it's over. But you still can't completely count them out, because if the Miami Heat could make the NBA Finals out of the play-in, the Golden State Warriors certainly can. Oh, so yeah. All they got to do is make a spot, and playoff experience is a lot different than regular season experience, whether you're playing in an in-season tournament or not. The Warriors are still not a team that you want to see in the postseason by any means.
Oh, agree. All it takes is getting on the right momentum path, and then putting all of that playoff experience they already have together again, and they're back in the finals.
They'll turn it around at some point. But this Jonathan Kuminga, get rid of him.
I don't understand what has happened with him, because all of the game tape that I've seen on him, there's a lot of good things still that he can do. He has a lot of talent and everything, but it just seems I don't know, Steve Kerr never trusted him ever, it seems. And he never was trusted to play, even when people were out. He never trusted him to play a whole game like a starter would normally play. And I just don't understand exactly what and where things went wrong with him.
Well, look at him in the summer league, though. He didn't play well in the summer league. He wasn't shooting. I mean, he scored, but his shooting numbers weren't good.
That's true.
It just seems he's just stuck where there's been no progression. And I don't know if that's Steve Kerr's fault.
Oh, I'm not saying the whole thing is Steve Kerr's fault because you got to put some on the player for not improving. Like at the very least, I will say I'm happy that I got rid of him in our dynasty league. That Andre was all about Jonathan Kuminga. I was like, go ahead.
So anybody who has him on your fantasy rosters, hold on him for now. The minute he plays, has a good game, then trade him.
Yes. Unless you know somebody that is obsessed with him.
Right.
Wait till he has one good game. And then sell hard.
But yeah, the Warriors are gonna they'll get a winning streak going at some point.
Especially if Andrew Wiggins remembers how to play.
Yeah, he won't, but they'll get into the postseason. I think they're better than a play-in team.
Yeah.
And if they're gonna make moves this season, it's gonna be in terms of being a quality, dangerous team. It'll be in the postseason.
I agree.
So they're not cooked.
I think they need to go back to like when Chris Paul was healthy and everything. They were going with like Steph and Chris Paul and Draymond at the 5 and everything. I think they need to go back to Looney at the 5 and Draymond at the 4.
I think I agree. I think they play their best when Looney's there dogging underneath the basket.
Exactly, because then
if you're going to shoot like shit, at least you have your insurance policy.
Exactly, and you also free up Draymond to do a lot more things rather than having to be down there to grab boards. You got Looney to pretty much clean up everything and play interior defense, and you can let Draymond kind of do his own thing like he normally does. And I think that unlocks a lot more of the potential of the team than Chris Paul and Steph Curry together.
I mean, especially too, Draymond is very versatile.
Yeah,
he's a great passer. At least he was. He's still a good passer. He could shoot relatively well from the 3-point line.
True.
But he's older. He's not going to be as physical as he used to be.
Exactly. And he's especially not moving around the court as fast as he.
No, honestly, that 5-game suspension is the best thing that ever happened to him because it gave him some time off.
True. Give him a little rest time and he'll back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And honestly, right now, even though Jordan Poole's not looking great in Washington, it looked like he'd be an okay insurance policy if he was still in Golden State.
I mean, Jordan Poole's not that bad.
No. He just shouldn't be a number 1 option.
I don't think he is. I think Kuzma is, but he shouldn't be a number 2.
Yeah. True. But no, I agree. I don't think they're fully cooked, but they definitely need to figure some things out going in.
I think you did think that they were fully cooked, but after I said that no, then you changed your course because you didn't want me to criticize you again.
No, I'm not scared of you criticizing me, as you can see with my MVP considerations.
Yeah, but then I just don't want you to be reckless with what you're saying here. And as an older guy, you're my younger pal. I gotta look out for you a little bit. So I don't want you to go out saying stupid shit that you're gonna regret later.
I don't know. Maybe if I say some crazy shit, it brings in more viewers.
Maybe. I've tried. It's worked. China loves us. Hey, what the hell?
Exactly. Although China usually loves Golden State, so if we talk shit about Golden State, I don't know.
Well, we weren't, though. We were saying they're not cooked.
That's a good point. So
even though I don't think they say cooked in China.
Probably not. But shout out China. Thanks for watching, everyone.
And get that respiratory thing you guys got going on under control.
Yeah, seriously. We don't need anything else. But that's all the topics we had for this week. Unless you have anything else.
That's it?
Yeah, we only had 4 topics this week.
I thought we had like 2 more.
Nope. That's it. I mean, because now your favorite in-season tournament is playing right now.
Yeah, it matters. So we better get off and go watch that historic event.
The Bucks are currently beating the Knicks by 3.
Oh my god. That's the closest they're going to get to any cup.
The Knicks?
No, the Bucks.
Oh. I thought you were going to say the Knicks because I would have been like, yeah, that's true. It's the Knicks.
How about both of them?
I can agree with that.
Just give the Nuggets the trophy. The trophy already.
Are they still in it? I don't think they're still in it.
No, I mean the NBA championship.
Oh. I mean, it'll probably be Nuggets Celtics again.
I don't see this. The Celtics better stop playing like dog shit at times.
True. Jason Tatum has played like some real dog shit in a few games this year, and it's been bad.
But I don't know if I've noticed this before, but I'm literally watching Jokic the way he's and you know it's funny too. I almost texted you. He did that pump fake thing that Embiid does, and somebody fell for it. So yeah, he's passing around. The guy's just amazing.
These big guys and the slowest pump fake ever, and it gets people every time.
I've never not seen it work.
The only time it doesn't work for Embiid is when it's Al Horford, and I'm like, of all people, why is it Al Horford the
oldest fucking guy in the league?
He's probably like, you know what? I'm so old. Like, why am I jumping?
He ain't.
And it ends up working.
Well, he's like, I'm not jumping because I'm old, but too, I know what he's doing. So
right. Meanwhile, when Robert Williams was still on the team, he was jumping for everything.
And then he'd come down on his knee, and he's out for 6 weeks.
Yep. Oh, God. Well, that's it for us this week. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to another episode of The Atlantic Files, the #1 podcast on the #1 division in the NBA. On YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell below for notifications. It lets you know when we go live. Comment. It helps with the algorithm and gets our video out to more people, which we would love to share this with everybody. And if you could share the audio part with a friend, show some people on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get them, that'd be great too. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week.